It's difficult to imagine. Some people want to see big sharks in the water, especially photographers. These animals are some of the most iconic photo subjects in the sea. But how do you get close to them? For decades, it's been done with chumming, attracting the sharks with bait. The practice is now being questioned, even banned in many countries, because of a dramatic increase in attacks. White sharks' main food sources, seals and sea lions, are on the move. Global warming and other factors are driving both their prey and the sharks into new territory, and sometimes we're right in their paths. At Mexico's Guadalupe Island, deep water cages provide a fisheye view of great whites. At depth and with minimal baiting, the animals display a surprisingly calm and curious nature. Through satellite and acoustic tagging, researcher Dr. Mauricio Hoyos studies great white migration and behavior. Two other large pelagic sharks, hammerheads and oceanic whitetips, are facing grave declines in their numbers. Like great whites, the fins of these increasingly rare sharks are in high demand for shark fin soup. New international laws now ban commercial trade in these species. But will the measures be effective protection for these endangered animals? In April 2012, a champion South African surfer was killed by a great white. Shark tourism operators and filmmakers were initially blamed. Both groups were chumming in the area at the time of the attack. The baiting of sharks is possibly a factor in some fatalities. But there are other issues to consider, such as the changing migration patterns of their prey species, and there are more of us in the water than ever. There have been more deadly white shark attacks in the past 2 years than in the past 2 decades combined. What's going on?
The thing about shark fatalities is they're spectacular and they command the media. They are going to lead on the front page. If it bleeds, it leads. So what's going on is there are more of us. This is a busy planet. We've passed 7 billion people, and a lot of us like to be in the water. And the fact is that other marine mammals like to be in the water in many of the same places, and they're prey species for large sharks, particularly white sharks. We are recreating in areas where there are big pinniped populations, and people are surfing there, people are diving and snorkeling, free diving, swimming. We're living in the neoprene era now, and when you take a pink ape and you clad them in neoprene and you put them in the water and they're floating on the surface, they look an awful lot like a seal from underneath. So I think a lot of what we're seeing in shark attack, and white shark attack particularly, is mistaken identity.
Dr. Chris Harvey Clark is a shark researcher and the director of animal care at the University of British Columbia. His studies with other large cold water animals such as six-gill and Greenland sharks show they have many similarities to great whites. Most species' behavior, even our own, is primarily driven by the urge to eat. It's all about the food.
Pinniped populations are growing in some areas, and certainly Central California, some of the Pacific Islands, around Australia, around New Zealand, populations are protected, so they're growing. They're outstripping local food resources and moving around, and with them move the large predators. So you may see white sharks occurring in places they haven't been before, and of course these are also places where people in the water, they're surfing, they're snorkeling, and inadvertently being bumped and attacked by white sharks.
The increase in great white attacks is clearly more about more of us being in the water near their prey species. And although the baiting of sharks remains a contentious issue, the practice helps fuel a growing industry, shark tourism.
We just departed Ensenada, Baja California North, heading down to Guadalupe now. Heading south-southwest, 185 nautical miles. Beautiful day today. Hopefully it stays that way. Not always like this.
Historically, there were just a handful of locations where you could regularly see great whites up close. Primarily South Africa, Australia, and California. White sharks, though, are rarely encountered in these places now, or conditions are so challenging, it's nearly impossible to get in the water with them. Mexico's remote Guadalupe Island is the premier destination in the booming business of white shark tourism. And if you're putting people in the water with great whites, you need to protect them.
These cages we have are tough cages. I'd put these cages up against any shark on the planet, and I have no doubt that we would be safe inside there. I'm personally inside the cages every day too, so I wouldn't put our guests in these cages if I didn't think they're safe, so they're extremely tough, yeah.
Although the cages are made of aluminum, they're still incredibly heavy and dangerous to maneuver.
Okay, we'll take the surface cage next, guys.
Even in calm seas, lifting them with a hydraulic crane is a delicate operation.
All right, clear that line, guys. I believe this is our third season now with these submersible cages, and it really offers a different perspective to see a shark swimming above you or even approaching the cage from above.
Watch yourself there, Bob. Swings right at you.
Okay, down.
At first light, it's time to deploy the cages.
You're gonna pick it up, you're gonna swing it, and you're gonna lower it right here. You wanna boom down a little bit?
In addition to the two deep units, there are two surface cages.
Ciao, S.A.
It's a full charter, and there are lots of guests. All four cages will be busy.
Pool's almost open.
It's a big job to ensure customers are well equipped and safe. The dive deck is cluttered with dive gear and support crew.
Okay, up slow.
Let's do it.
I've been diving all over the world, and I'm so excited to do this dive. I've done wrecks, I've done reefs, I've done it all. Now I get to do the ultimate, diving with the great white sharks. I am so excited.
Okay, this is the regulator.
What's that?
It is.
A regulator? What's that?
Oh, it leak out.
Guests breathe air through a regulator, much like scuba divers. But instead of using tanks, compressed gas is supplied from the surface. Each diver needs to be heavily weighted to stay firmly at the bottom of the cages.
I've done a lot of diving in Hawaii, French Polynesia, Great Barrier Reef, and on this boat at Socorro. But great white sharks, this is a first.
All right, folks, two-person cage is ready if you want to start loading up. First dive of the trip.
Rock and roll. Oh, this is nice water.
You want to watch putting your hand right there because it's a pinch point, okay?
Okay, all right.
Bill, there's nobody I would rather take. Straight down. Here's your regulator.
Okay.
When you get down to the bottom of the cage, I'll hand you the camera. Just step away from the ladder, make room for Jan.
Okay.
I've been at this 46 years diving out in the ocean, but I've never ever seen or dived or even filmed the great white. So I'm ready to go. This is really exciting for me.
And white sharks are dream animals for most photographers. Even though the crew no longer baits with a chum slick or bloody fish parts, the sharks show up soon after the cages are deployed. The big animals seem more relaxed, perhaps even curious at depth. The combination of deeper cages and less baiting seems to be a great success.
Our two submersible cages are a little different from your standard surface cages that most people are familiar with. We lower those down depth of 10 meters. We use hydraulic winches, which are on the stern, and we have a crew member that operate each cage. They're operated from the surface, one crew member lowering them down, lowering them back up again also. They have a lot of backup systems in case of emergency, in case of something happens. They're equipped with ballast tanks, so that if we do need to bring the cage up before the scheduled time, the dive master can blow those ballast tanks with air and the cage will come at a controlled rate up to the surface. If we get cut off from the surface supplied air for some reason, then we have backups. We have scuba tanks down there that we can use to fill the tanks and also to breathe off of. Well, the idea behind the submersible cage is that we get to observe the sharks in their more natural environment, as opposed to the past in the surface cages, where the idea was to be throwing buckets of blood, throwing chunks of tuna and luring them in close to the surface cage. And the behavior you see from the surface cage is that behavior, the sharks agitated, excited from the chumming. The submersible cages, on the other hand, you've got a cage full of people down there, you've got lots of heartbeats, lots of electromagnetic activity. The sharks are attracted to that, but in a different way than they are to the blood. They're not so excited, they're curious, they come cruise around the cages, they're very deliberate in their motions, move very slowly, and you get to see the white shark as they truly are, as opposed to the white shark that's most often portrayed on TV and movies like Jaws.
After a couple of dives, the sharks start to get bolder. They circle tighter and tighter to the cages. For guests, it's what they came for, a thrilling close-up encounter with the infamous great white. The sharks get so close, you could reach out and touch them. But that's not a very good idea.
Oh, that was awesome. There were 3 sharks circling around and circling very slowly, smoothly, but they come in closer, close past there. You can almost reach them with your hands. I didn't try though.
It's my 4th season out here diving with the white sharks, and I've never been sick of it. I don't think I can say I've ever been bored down there. In fact, every time I'm getting ready to go in, I'm excited to see the sharks again, you know? It's some of my favorite diving to do.
The youngest shark diver was 14-year-old Samantha Morrow. The Canadian teenager logged more dives than most of the guests.
See you later.
Even though the water was a bit chilly, it was challenging to drag many of the guests out of the cages. They couldn't get enough of the enigmatic animals. And divers got a once-in-a-lifetime close-up experience with great whites.
Nowadays, we're not feeding the sharks, we're not wrangling the sharks, and we're not putting heavy slicks of chum in the water to get the sharks to the cages. However, Occasionally we do put a hang bait down to put a little scent in the water to bring the sharks in. If we want to show the sharks to these people and educate people about the sharks, then it's something really that I feel that we have to do to bring the sharks to us and keep them there. The current law is that you can't use any tuna, any scent in the water. However, this year, just this season, they have decided to allow you to apply for a permit to use a certain amount of tuna to attract the sharks.
The sharks really do come in close, even with minimal baiting.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. There's so many close-up sharks. It's probably like 3 or 4.
Congratulations, Sambo. First big shark dive. You made it. You got all your fingers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all that counts, isn't it?
Woo-hoo! Oh man, that was unbelievable. That's the second dive today, and it was better than the first one.
More sharks, bigger and closer.
They were huge, huge, gorgeous animals.
We should have brought our shark dental floss.
There are some people who feel that any form of baiting should be banned. It's clear, though, the sharks would likely not approach closely without an incentive. A simple hang bait is usually enough to draw the great whites close to the cages. The sharks are intensely curious animals, and even though they're a bit calmer with less baiting, it can still be an unnerving experience. Mauricio Hoyos is fascinated with white sharks. As a university student, he wanted to make the animals the focus of his doctorate. But there were supposedly very few of the animals in Mexican waters.
Mauricio, señores, ¿cómo estás? Bien, bien. ¿Tú? Muy bien, muy bien. Ya leo. Ya estás. I spoke with my advisor and I told him I would love to study the white shark. But he told me, Mauricio, we don't have a lot of white sharks in Mexican waters. That was in 2000. And 2 years after that, we found out that we have the best place to see white sharks in the world. And that's why I have been in Guadalupe Island for 9 years, and I would do anything to know more about them and to protect them.
There are no permanent research facilities on the island, so Mauricio teams up with various tour boats as a ship naturalist. He's especially fond of working with children and introducing them to these amazing sharks.
When I was a kid, I remember that we went to the United States and my father gave me $20 and he told me, okay, this is all the money that I'm going to give you. You have to buy a lot of toys or whatever you want. And there was this small shark and it was $20. I bought it because I really wanted it. And my father was really upset because he told me, hey, that's all your money. You have to, you can buy a lot of different toys. No, I want that toy, and I still have it. Because since I was a little kid, I loved sharks. When I saw the first shark, it was like the dream of my life came true. It was amazing. It was a huge female, maybe 4 meters long. And since then, I have been working here on this island every autumn. Guadalupe, it's a very special place because it's an island in the middle of nowhere, and it is influenced by the California current system, that it has a lot of cold water, a lot of nutrients.
Guadalupe's shark numbers appear to be growing. More new sharks means the population is thriving.
There was a study, and they wanted to know the number of sharks that we have year after year, and I think that it is up to 130 sharks. But every year, I have seen new sharks. Most of them are juveniles, and that's very important for Guadalupe Island.
Older established sharks sometimes don't return to the island. They may migrate somewhere else or die off. Seeing new juveniles indicates these animals are being born at Guadalupe or somewhere nearby, which is an encouraging sign.
We have found that the males arrive to the island in July, and females in September, October. They depart the island in February, most of them. But also we have found that some of them remain on the island for up to 10 months, in the case of the juveniles, for example. In Guadalupe, we have 3 different species of pinnipeds: the northern elephant seal, the Guadalupe fork seal, and the California sea lion. And that's one of the preferred prey sources of the white sharks because they have a lot of fat, and fat has twice caloric value than proteins. So I have seen that in December, when the northern elephant seals are coming to the island to give birth and to mate, the sharks know that and they are waiting for them. But I have seen when they feed on a northern elephant seal and they finish it all. I was there in December and it attacked a female. She was maybe 800 kilograms. And the shark, it was a big female, more than 5 meters. And she killed the seal and she ate everything in front of me in less than 25 minutes.
For a prey animal that's in constant peril, the seals here don't seem to be too concerned, as long as they can see the sharks. And if it gets a bit too scary for the seals, they sometimes even climb on the back of tour boats for protection. To gain a better understanding of the sharks' local movements and their long-distance migrations, Mauricio Hoyos uses high-tech tools such as satellite tags and acoustic transmitters. The devices reveal the shark's depths, migratory patterns, locations, and water temperatures. But even with advanced technology, there's still a lot we don't know about these enigmatic animals.
In order to know the local movements of the sharks, we are using ultrasonic telemetry. We have to set ultrasonic transmitter in a shark, and that transmitter is going to emit a pulse that we can detect in 2 devices. One, that it's a portable receiver that we have in the boat. So as soon as I tag the shark, I have to follow that shark for 24 hours. Okay, Jorge, shark, bring it, bring it. Put it right here, right here. Okay, excellent. We are setting underwater receivers in several different parts of the island, and these receivers can get all the information and storage that information for up to 1 year.
The white sharks at Guadalupe spend over half a year away from the island in open water between California and Hawaii. But what they're doing way out there remains a mystery. A few of the animals have been satellite tracked to a remote location in the middle of the Pacific, dubbed the Great White Cafe. It's thought that thousands of the sharks congregate each year at the mysterious spot. No one is even sure whether they are mating, chasing tuna, or even giving birth out there. For such a remarkably well-known creature, we actually know very little about them. But Mauricio Hoyos is determined to find out more.
Yeah, the shark is not here. Maybe we can go a little bit to the north. Okay?
Guadalupe is a protected biosphere of Mexico. Yet with minimal funding or monitoring, the sharks are under constant threat from poachers. And there's growing political pressure to restrict the activities of tourism operators. Baiting and chumming of white sharks remains a contentious issue.
If the tourism operators are not allowed to attract the sharks, they won't go to the island again. There's a big problem with poachers. The Mexican Navy is doing a great job, but they cannot be there all the time. So these kind of boats are as extra set of eyes, taking care of the sharks. So I think that we have to find a good way that it's good for the sharks and good for the tourism operators. I mean, not just ban the baiting, but let's do a study to find what would be the best way to attract the sharks without interfering with the natural behavior of the animals.
Stills photographer David Fleetham is just one of a handful of image makers that earn their living taking pictures of marine animals. And one of his favorite subjects is sharks. For most amateurs and professionals, getting the perfect shark picture can be an obsession. His iconic image of a sandbar shark was the first and only underwater photo ever used on the cover of famed Life magazine. Great whites, though, are the holy grail of shark photos.
The first time that I photographed a shark underwater was in British Columbia. It took several trips, but eventually at about 130 feet, I had this 12, maybe 14 foot long, 6-gill shark, huge, girthy shark go swimming by me with really little interest shown in me whatsoever. I was hooked after that on shooting sharks. And then the next shark on the list was, of course, a great white. The great whites that are around Guadalupe Island. That spot has just really developed into what's got to be the best place in the world to photograph great whites underwater.
White sharks are the quintessential marine predator. If anyone who associates danger underwater, they think of this massive white zeppelin-looking shark bristling with teeth coming straight towards them with Jaws music playing. And inevitably, any image that you take of a white shark, people are going to enjoy looking at it.
Photographer Andy Murch is so enamored with sharks, they're the only species he films. His database of shark images is perhaps the most comprehensive in the world.
I started as a diver before I became a photographer. After I really fell in love with the ocean and with sharks, I decided that I wanted to record as many of the animals that I had seen underwater as I could. So I started to build this portfolio of shark and ray images, which was what I was mostly interested in. And after a while, that database grew big enough that I was able to actually start selling the pictures and become a professional photographer. I don't think that my interest in sharks comes from the fact that they're scary or they've got big teeth or anything like that. It's really more of a fascination with how majestic they are, how beautiful they are, how graceful when they swim through the water. They're absolutely stunning animals, and if you catch them with just the right light and on a nice clear day, it's an absolutely magical thing to see underwater. Sharks have a presence, especially if you can make eye contact with a shark. It's very, very engaging. And I think that that same feeling that you get when you're underwater taking photographs of them or shooting video, when that image is presented to somebody above the surface, when they see that, I think that it's very captivating for them too. If you can capture that moment where a shark turns towards you and it's looking at the camera, when the person above water sees that, they're sucked into that image. It's a bit of a fantasy, but my ultimate goal is to try to photograph every species of shark out there. And I'm not just doing this because it would be a fun thing to do or because I have OCD. I think that getting images of all of these sharks will be very useful for conservation purposes in the future. And that's critical to me, that we have those images so that if anybody starts some kind of conservation initiative for a particular species, I'm able to supply an image so that people can really appreciate the animal that we're trying to protect.
And one shark species Andy has taken many photos of, the oceanic whitetip, definitely needs all the help it can get. To dive with and photograph the elusive oceanic whitetip, shark advocate Stuart Cove and his crew traveled to waters off Cat Island in the central Bahamas. Like great whites, oceanic whitetips need a little incentive to approach the dive boat.
You got it, man.
This is the bit no one sees and no one wants to do. I don't mind it. This is what our little darlings like to eat, so gotta give it to them. Alright.
Come here, little puppy.
Just for you, Ted.
So this is our oceanic whitetip, the first one to show up. Got a beautiful day.
Stuart is perhaps tempting fate a bit, but he's got lots of experience with these sharks.
I think we can go in. It won't take long for his friends to come.
Baiting and chumming is a controversial practice with all sharks. But the fact remains that the only way to entice the animals is with bait.
What are you doing?
I'm just having some fun.
Stewart Cove's business revolves around shark tourism, and if you're paying to see an animal in the wild, you want to get as close as possible. Wrangling sharks with a baited line is one surefire way to excite the sharks. Oceanic whitetips do have a bit of a reputation. They've been implicated in numerous shark attack fatalities, especially with shipwreck survivors in the open ocean. But they have a lot more to fear from us. When these increasingly rare sharks are encountered, they're very small. The few oceanics that remain are a fraction of the size of their historic counterparts.
Oceanic white-tip sharks have pretty much become the poster shark for shark conservation now. Their numbers were depleted so much in the Gulf of Mexico, and it was recorded that there was only 2% left of the initial population. So because of this, they became effectively the mascot for shark conservation. And this is very important because we need those species that we can illustrate how bad it's got. Oceanic white-tip sharks are open ocean predators, so unlike most sharks that hang out on different reefs, they rarely come in contact with land whatsoever. They're out chasing tuna or various other migrating species in the very, very deep ocean, far, far from land. And because of this, they've come in contact with unregulated finning in many parts of the world where there's no monitoring. There's no way to protect them because past international limits, fishermen can do more or less anything they want.
Oceanic white-tip shark, this is a beautiful shark. Carcharinus longimanus being the long, beautiful pectoral fins these sharks have. A really interesting shark because when you see them underwater, you usually often don't see the shark. You see little white flashing shadows off in the distance. And these shadows, it's thought, are actually mimicking the movement of prey fish species. They look a little bit like a far-off glimpse of some silvery fish off in the distance. And it's thought that this may actually provide other prey species that these whitetips are taking with a little bit of assurance. Oh, it's just a school of fish out there, and then bam, oceanic comes in and hits you. What's happened to oceanic whitetips is that we've seen a century of industrial fishing in the Atlantic, and particularly longline fishing, and it's taken them out. Their population has declined 98 or 99%. They were once the most prolific shark in the Atlantic, even more so than the blue shark, which is astounding because of the biomass of blues.
One of the most enigmatic sharks is the great hammerhead. These rare creatures are certainly an unusual shark. Massive animals, their distinctively shaped head separates them from more typical species. And no sharks have more desirable or valuable fins. One of the most consistent places to find hammerheads is the tiny island of Bimini in the northern Bahamas.
You know, great hammerhead, you can sometimes have a lucky opportunity to see them, but this here in South Bimini is guaranteed hammerhead action. We're less than a mile offshore, 20 feet of water. So the sharks come very close to to South Bimini. And it's great because it's only a 5-minute boat ride to the site.
Like oceanic whitetips and white sharks, hammerheads need a bit of incentive to approach divers.
We grabbed a huge bag of just some local Bahamian fish, grunts, schoolmasters, little barjacks. I'm just cutting it all up into pieces. I'm going to put it in a bucket with some oil and some salt water, mash it all up, and then when the sharks come, we put it in the water, and it's an attraction scent, so we like to call it our shark soup.
The question remains, though, does baiting adversely affect the natural behavior of the sharks? most large sharks are attracted to handouts of food. Even just the scent of fish blood in the water can usually bring them into close contact. But does it make them more dangerous?
It's just an awesome experience to see these huge animals swimming right up to you and around you. Fantastic. The way I feel about these hammerheads, I've dived with a lot of species of sharks here in the Bahamas, but this great hammerhead is probably the highlight of all the sharks. They're huge, 15 feet long, with heads 3 feet wide and 6 foot high dorsal fins, and they stay with us, and they swim right around us very closely. The water is crystal clear here in Bimini and only about 20 feet deep, so you can have an hour-plus dive. The gentle giants. I don't feel at all intimidated by the sharks. Very comfortable. I don't feel they would bite you. They're not interested in us. At one point I was holding a fish and it came after the fish. I put it behind my back. It went around me to my back. I moved it back to the front. It came around to the front. It wasn't interested in biting me. It was just interested in the fish.
Even though hammerheads have been proven to be relatively shy and non-threatening animals, there's still that nasty reputation to deal with. Old perceptions die hard. Introducing them to scuba divers might help to change our views.
This is such a unique experience here in South Bimini with these great hammerheads. I would like to introduce more and more people to it, particularly photographers. It's such a great opportunity to get incredible images of these huge sharks.
Photographers are definitely fond of hammerheads. They are a very distinct and unusual species.
Depending who you talk to, there's either 9 or 10 species of hammerhead sharks in the world now. And by far the most iconic and impressive is the great hammerhead, which can grow to extremely large proportions and is very, very angular. It has this huge, long witch's hat dorsal fin. It's just a very spiky shark when you see it in images. And I think that that's very captivating for a lot of people.
In the Bahamas and much of the Caribbean, hammerheads have long been viewed as man-eaters. Although they have attacked humans in the past, it's been decades since one of the animals was involved in a fatality.
We need to turn people onto it so they can get the word out that these great hammerheads aren't this indiscriminate killer. Because you think of great hammerhead and you think, oh my God, I got to get out the water, they're going to eat me.
One of the hardest groups to convince that hammerheads pose a minimal threat are fishermen.
You know, just yesterday we were in Bimini Harbor trying to get some carcasses to feed the sharks. And this very nice gentleman kindly gave us his carcasses. Couldn't believe we were diving with these great hammerheads. And he was bragging about how many great hammerheads he's killed over the years, strictly for trophies. His understanding was they were terrible killers and they needed to be killed. But we've changed his mind. He won't be killing any more great hammerhead sharks. And the more people we can bring down here and show them how gentle these guys are, the more the word's going to get out and we can make a difference in this endangered species.
Open ocean wanderers, great whites, and other large pelagic species are critically endangered over much of their historic ranges. White sharks are now protected in most countries. Other species, however, are not. Oceanic white-tip numbers have dropped globally by more than 90%. Hammerheads are targeted relentlessly. It doesn't help that their dorsal and pectoral fins are very large and valuable. Big sharks have big fins, and as most sharks are scavengers, they easily fall prey to baited long line hooks.
We have a century now of massive industrial fishing that's gone on in the open seas, virtually unregulated, to the point where most of their populations are severely threatened. They're 85–90% gone. We have pounded sharks mercilessly. This is the end of the end. So we've had a century of bycatch, we've had directed fisheries, and now with the value of these fins anywhere from $80 to $160 a kilo, we're now with the last of the buffaloes 150 years ago in the ocean. We are now seeing the last of these magnificent pelagic sharks being taken for their fin value.
For decades, conservation groups and researchers have been raising the alarm over the wasteful practice of shark finning. We've been killing tens of millions of the animals without careful consideration of their important role in the marine ecosystem. It finally appears, though, that some of us may be getting the message. CITES, or the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, has just won a major battle in shark conservation.
This year, 5 new shark species were added to the CITES appendices, which is fantastic news for sharks. We managed to get 3 species of hammerheads, great hammers, smooth hammers, and scalloped hammers protected, as well as porbeagle sharks, which are related to great whites, and oceanic whitetip. This is a very good start. Of course, it doesn't protect them completely because all it does is stop international trade. But it doesn't mean that those sharks can't be fished out on a domestic basis.
This is all shark. Angel, mako, casson is other species, probably hammer. That's probably hammer.
Finally, somebody has actually set the bar somewhere. We know the CITES process has its flaws, but at least we've got a starting point for the protection of oceanic pelagic sharks. The celebratory food of a culture is a big deal. You're talking about North American culture. Our Christmas turkey is a big deal. Most people don't want to give up their Christmas turkey. In Asian culture, the celebratory value of shark fin soup at, for instance, wedding banquets is huge. The fact is there's a big prestige factor associated with the eating of this product, and that's what we really have to shift, I think. Very characteristic. We saw this shark within 50 meters of the same site 3 years running. About 40% of the countries which are taking sharks have absolutely no management plans for any of the sharks they take. They just take and take. There's no allowable catch, there's no limit. You just go out and fish.
Even though oceanic whitetips and hammerheads are now protected, on paper, will the new laws have teeth?
The real problem with CITES is it's kind of a coalition of the willing. So if you decide to opt out of CITES, there are no penalties. So really, where shark protection is concerned, it then goes on to the larger scale of how nations interact and things like trade treaties and so on. Would anybody in the Western world, for instance, step up at an international trade conference and say, we're not going to trade with this country that's overexploiting sharks? Would that happen? Perhaps it should.
There's still a long ways to go to bring many species of sharks back from the brink of extinction. Regardless of their effectiveness, the new CITES rules are a big first step in shark conservation.
Sharks are big business in adrenaline ecotourism. And some thrill seekers deliberately pursue close encounters with deadly sharks. Divers are pushing the boundaries of human and shark interaction, baiting with fish carcasses and blood, inciting feeding frenzies, all in a quest to get ever closer to creatures that can kill them.
That was fucking hairy. Jesus Christ.
After an injury ended his career, professional bull rider Eli Martinez founded Shark Diver magazine, and he also organizes excursions for shark enthusiasts. And there's no shark dive more exciting or dangerous than Tiger Beach in the northern Bahamas.
Nautilus Explorer, Nautilus Explorer.
Captain Mike Lever's most popular trips feature encounters with great white sharks. At Mexico's Guadalupe Island, he's trying something completely different, introducing young children to sharks. In 2008, the first tourist on a commercial shark diving expedition was killed by a shark. The death ignited a firestorm of controversy. Shark advocates and shark attack victims Eric Ritter and Chuck Anderson have grave reservations about how far we are willing to go for a thrill. It's reasonable to assume most people would want to avoid sharks, but some scuba divers and snorkelers pay big bucks to get up close and personal with the animals. The bigger and more dangerous the shark, the better. Shark encounters are becoming one of the most popular attractions in the sport, with or without the protection of a cage. Gone from being very, very afraid of sharks to having an almost cavalier attitude about them. But have we taken shark diving a bit too far? Many scuba divers are asked if they're afraid of sharks. They're frightening creatures to most of us, but for some people, getting close to dangerous sharks is exactly what they're hoping for. Simply swimming in the ocean means we've become part of the food chain. You can say the same about a walk in the woods, but at least we're in our element, above the water. For shark divers, there is something primal and enticing about entering an alien world where sea monsters lurk. Perhaps the best place to scuba dive with one of the most dangerous sharks is in the Atlantic Ocean in a remote corner of the Bahamas. In the tropics, there isn't a bigger or badder predator than the tiger shark. In terms of the number of attacks on humans and fatalities, they are second only to great whites. The largest one ever caught was 24 feet long. It's a contender with the great white as the largest predatory fish in the sea. At West Palm Beach, Florida, Shark Diver magazine publisher Eli Martinez has organized a one-week expedition to the northern Bahamas to scuba dive with big sharks. A former rodeo cowboy, Martinez suffered a career-ending injury shortly after turning professional. He then took his passion for dangerous animals to a new extreme.
I spent 6 years riding bulls and doing the rodeo circuit. And it was on one of my stops when I got my pro permit and I started going to pro events that I cracked my hip. And I was out for 2 months. So I decided to get my diving certification and went on a dive trip, and I'm dropping down and I saw a shark, and that was it. Basically hung up my spurs literally and I started chasing sharks after that.
Okay, you're clear.
After motoring overnight from the Florida coast and clearing Bahamian immigration, the liveaboard diving vessel Dolphin Dream headed north to remote Tiger Beach. Captain Wayne Smith is credited with discovering Tiger Beach and first introducing scuba divers to tiger sharks.
Well, I've been coming out here 27 years now, and we came to this area and we anchored up because it was a shallow, protected area. Sometimes at night we'd have some dead carcasses and we'd throw them in the water and they'd come up and start feeding on them. And after a while, there's got to be such high demand for people wanting to see tiger sharks that we started running these trips.
Everybody, welcome to Tiger Beach. As you can see, we already have a bunch of lemon sharks swimming around. We prefer everybody dive in twos so that somebody can watch your back while you're in the water. Once you jump in, just keep your hands here. Don't start waving them around or splashing. Other than that, we already got sharks here. The pool is open.
Got to get in there. This is what we nutty people do. This is what it's for.
Yeah, my jailhouse tat. I didn't actually get it in jail.
Any last words, Neil?
Look after my wife and children.
When I started wearing the hat was to save my hair, and it kind of became my trademark. So I never dive without it. The only time I don't is when it's really, really cold and I gotta wear a hoodie, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can make that work.
Dozens of lemon sharks are a constant presence at Tiger Beach. They're not generally considered aggressive, but they are implicated in over 20 non-fatal attacks on humans. Many sharks, including lemons, can be dangerous given the right conditions. A beautiful animal with piercing cat-like eyes, they are part of the Requiem family, which includes other well-known species such as tiger and blue sharks. The animal everyone is here to see is the tiger shark. Although not endangered, they are very rarely encountered while scuba diving. It takes some time for the tiger sharks to venture in from the fringing coral reef. They seem at first to be relatively uninterested in the divers or the lemon sharks. But on the first dive of the first day, tiger sharks eventually came closer and made their presence known in a big way.
Holy crap. Man, I've done some scary my day, but that one takes the cake. You didn't want to know what was happening behind you.
Did they follow me up?
I was rolling on one, he came right behind you.
Tiger?
Yeah, it took a little chew on your tank. There's nothing I could do about it.
First dive, first day of the trip, I get bumped by 2 or 3 tiger sharks right in the lens, coming right at me.
You were turned away from me, and this big tiger shark came swinging around, and he was coming toward me, and I'm kind of backing off. Then he swung in behind you, and I guess for some reason he decided your tank was something he'd like to investigate, so he went up and he just kind of mouthed it a little bit, and you're oblivious to the whole thing, of course. Those are big, rather impressive-looking sharks, I gotta say that.
He really didn't bump anybody else, you know, he just came after your housing and you know, the tiger shark was just looking around for that food. He really couldn't find it. Probably saw the housing, was looking for potentially a meal or something and bumped it. But after that, he found what he was looking for and went after that.
To attract and keep the big sharks close, you have to use bait. A lot of bait. Most divers rarely see sharks. The animals don't make a habit of venturing close to humans with scuba tanks. Breathing compressed air is a noisy affair, and our relatively large size usually scares them away. To the sharks here, however, we're just another big predator down there for the same reason they are, for the food.
We get our fish from the fish market. It's stuff they were going to throw away. We feed that to the sharks, so it's a win-win for everybody. We recycle what they were going to normally throw away in the trash bin.
Go through about 250, 300 pounds of bait per day. You get a variety of bait. A lot of what we get is what the fish houses have left over, heads and backbones after they sell to the restaurants and the public. And then we also get some bait from some of the local fishing boats that get in these bonitas, which are real oily and bloody. And they're not a food fish. Nobody eats them as foods. They make excellent bait.
We constantly have to adapt the way we're feeding them because they're clever little devils. One of the ways we do that is with the wrangling. We tend to get them excited there at the surface. We get the lemons thrashing around because they're so eager to get the bait. And that thrashing around is what's bringing the tigers in these days.
If you want big sharks, you use big bait. We're prepping a grouper head, and what we're going to do is we're going to wrangle in the sharks. We're going to hang this out the back and try to attract the tigers to the boat. We use big heads like this because if we use smaller pieces of fish, well, the sharks will kind of take it away real quick. They got a real thick bone in their heads, so we can last with this one piece of bait, and it'll keep us there for a while. The lemons have kind of dominated this place, but they're definitely smaller in the pecking order. When the tigers come in and they want to feed, you know, there's nothing's going to stop them. The lemons will definitely give them away, especially when a big 12, 14-foot tiger comes in. You know, the lemons will leave and get out of there. The big boss here has got to be the tiger shark, absolutely. You could see here that if a tiger shark can get his lower jaw on the bottom of this crate, I mean, he'll just snap it in half, and that's what he did here. One of the things that we're noticing is that these sharks have a learned behavior, at least the tiger sharks, where we're taking our crates down there and we're hanging them, and the tigers have learned to chew through the ropes that we have these crates hanging from so that they can grab these crates and swim off with them, and at their leisure figure a way to get inside to the bait that we have hanging. And yeah, it's definitely a learned behavior. A couple of local Bahamians coming off one of the small islands out there spearfishing. I don't think he knows this is tiger shark infested waters and these guys are out there spearfishing. Oh, what do you say about that? That's extreme. That's as gnarly as it gets. Jeez. I love my job.
It's another day at the office.
Oh, yeah.
Beach riding bulls, huh?
Are you kidding me? I live for this.
Eli Martinez has found a unique niche in the scuba diving world. His magazine, Shark Diver, appeals to both armchair shark enthusiasts and to those looking for a slightly more hands-on approach.
After the magazine started, the reader trips kind of evolved. People started asking us, where do we go diving? Maybe they can meet up with us, or when's our next adventure? I organized our first shark trip, and it worked really well, and we had a blast. Out there in the real world, you know, you tell someone you're a shark diver, and everybody thinks you're crazy. Here, all these crazy people can get together, and no one thinks you're crazy anymore.
Martinez frequently dives with aggressive sharks and has many hair-raising video clips from his expeditions. Mako sharks are particularly fast and frightening and have very sharp teeth.
Well, here you can see the bite marks. This is actually after my last Mako shark dive. Makos are one of the few sharks that don't bump divers with a mouth closed. They actually go at divers mouth open. You can see the gouges from sharks as they really bite into the glass.
As the week progressed, the action at Tiger Beach ramped up, way up. Aggressive baiting and chumming were perhaps a bit too successful. A handful of tiger sharks became increasingly more bold. Eli had to eventually use his camera as a defensive tool to protect some of the divers. Sharks don't have hands or fingers, so they sometimes ram or nudge objects out of curiosity. And in worst-case scenarios, they may take an exploratory bite.
This is what it's all about. This is what you hope for, you know?
That was f***ing hairy. Jesus Christ.
I may have drifted into the other divers that were there, but I turned around and I'm looking straight at the face of a tiger shark, and he wasn't a small one either.
Those sharks came in, they came in hard, and it was intense. It got hairy there for a little while.
I think Eli was trying to come in to protect me because I'm filming one and this other one comes in. It got extremely hairy.
That's what you really want. You know, everybody came back, nobody got hurt, and everybody's got a big smile on their face.
Reviewing his tape after the last dive at Tiger Beach, Eli's video camera revealed an encounter that could have seriously gone wrong. This is one sequence destined for the highlight reel.
There we go. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And again. And again. Gnarly, man. Talk about pucker factor. That is what shark diving is all about. That's what extreme shark diving is all about.
That was an outstanding dive. Absolutely outstanding. Tigers, 4 tigers, nipping at the tanks, biting the cage, the food cage. Outstanding. That's what it's all about. That's why we came out here. So, huge adrenaline rush. Huge.
Shark divers are a very small but growing community in the scuba diving world. They are a passionate group and many are staunch advocates for shark conservation. But are they crazy? And do they take their hobby a bit too far?
It's exciting to get in and watch a shark in its natural habitat. And I did a lot of reef diving in that, and it kind of got boring after a while, and kind of wanted to start getting to the big stuff and get a little excitement back into it.
It's partly an adrenaline rush, but it goes a lot farther than that. It's hard to describe until you've actually dove with one or swam with one. They're just such beautiful animals. They're so graceful and powerful.
You know, the more you know about them, the less you fear them. And diving with tiger sharks is great.
I have done skydiving, I have done some mountain climbing, I do mountain biking, but nothing compares to it. Nothing compares to shark diving and that intense adrenaline rush you get when you first see a big shark in the water, much less 10 or 15.
I've been diving for a lot of years in a lot of different places, and I've experienced a lot of different kinds of sharks. But tiger sharks are right up there in the pucker factor. I mean, the first big one you see, it's like, whoa.
Shark divers have a need for a little adrenaline rush, and you can kind of see it during these shark dives. If it's a real mellow shark dive, they're not real excited, but boy, when the sharks get excited, the people get excited.
You take someone that's never been in the water with a shark before, that has a positive experience in the water, they're going to come out as shark advocates, and they're going to be fighting for these animals, and they're going to talk about them in a different light. And that's extremely important because, you know, the world still looks at sharks as the only good shark is a dead shark. At the end of my days, you know, I would love to look back in my life and say, you know what, I saved a bunch of sharks. I did my part, and some sharks are still swimming out in the ocean.
The #1 species on every shark diver's list is the great white. And there's no better place on Earth to find them than Mexico's Guadalupe Island. There's no doubt sharks have an image problem. Razor-sharp teeth, the icy stare, bloody feeding frenzies. It's no wonder they've earned such a woeful reputation. And after all, they do occasionally kill people. No species has worse public relations issues than great whites. And no sharks are more popular with shark divers. About 250 miles west of Mexico's Baja Peninsula is the remote volcanic island of Guadalupe. From the port city of Ensenada, it's a journey of nearly 24 hours on the open ocean to reach Guadalupe. Approaching the intimidating coastline of the island, the first order of business is to prepare the shark cages.
Keep lots of tension on that line, okay? This is the one that's like a jigsaw puzzle. Here we go. That's it. Just rotate it around a little bit more, please. About 1,000 pounds of cage that we're lifting here. In open ocean with a wee bit of a swell going. My goodness. Just beautiful here. We put the cages in at night as soon as we get here. We like to get everything all organized and in the water just in case there's any kind of problems. It's nice to get everything tied up and to get the chum slicks started and make sure that the white sharks know that we're here and we're ready for business at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Guadalupe is an arid and desolate outpost in the open Pacific. Towering cliffs and rugged mountains rise over 4,000 feet from sea level. 19th century whalers brought goats to Guadalupe as a source of fresh meat. The animals multiplied as intended and eventually destroyed most of the island's flora and fauna. Today, some of the few original inhabitants that remain are fur seals, sea lions, and elephant seals. And life here must be harsh. This is the realm of the great white. In the late 1990s, long-range fishing boats targeting tuna near Guadalupe began reporting that great whites were attacking their catches. Word spread like a chum slick.
Come on, here he comes. Oh, beautiful. Oh! The industry started here in 2000 when a boat called the Horizon showed up. And they had heard stories about sport fishing boats not being able to bring their fish in because the white sharks were taking all the tuna. More white sharks than anyone had seen anywhere. So we came down here on a whim. I wanted to see white sharks off the back of the boat. But we got down here, I jumped in the water, I saw these enormous, beautiful sharks. I couldn't believe how fantastic they were. It was just an amazing experience. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to keep on doing this. It was just no question in my mind. And we ramped up from 2 trips that first year to 9 to 10 trips a year.
Like the sharks at Tiger Beach, great whites at Guadalupe need to be coaxed with bait. And nothing piques their interest like tuna.
Shark baiting 101. You make it smelly, you make it bloody, you make it oily, you get all this good, yummy stuff. You mix it up with your fingers and scrunch it up to get lots of blood. You make sure that you use animals that are endemic to the islands, mackerel and tuna. And we start at chum slick. We do it in a very non-invasive way, but we make it as smelly and yucky as we possibly can. One way to make sure that your chum is nice and fresh. We take a little bit of chum just like this, and we'll see what the mackerel in the water do. Whoa, look at that. Seagulls, mackerel, and a feeding frenzy. That is fresh tuna. Ready to go. Okay.
It's one thing to see a great white on television or from the safe confines of a boat. It's another experience entirely to see the animals in their natural element. There simply isn't a single creature on Earth that we're more afraid of.
I just couldn't believe how big they are and how beautiful they are. I mean, they're not at all ferocious looking. They look like they're smiling at you until they open their mouth.
Captain Mike Lever has 2 young children with a keen interest in sharks, and he's now trying something completely different, introducing kids to white sharks. The inaugural children's trip at Guadalupe included 3 kids from Mexico and Mike and Marianne Lever's own children, Charlie and Emily.
What's your name?
Ernesto. It's heavy.
I know it's heavy, but once you get in the water, you won't really feel it. It's just going to help you sink a little. How does that feel?
Otro más. A ver.
And then you put your feet there.
Now you want to sit down there. How many sharks do you think you're going to see?
So far, it's salty.
It's what?
Salty. Yes,
oh,
that's
it's salty. It is a little bit salty.
Where to go? All the way down. Go.
Grouper, man.
It didn't take long for the children to get the hang of breathing from a regulator. And once they started spotting sharks, the biggest challenge was dragging the kids out of the water.
Shark coming in, left to right.
don't recall what I was doing at 6 years old, but it wasn't diving with white sharks. I think it was like riding my tricycle around the street or something like that.
Well done. That was great.
Charlie, it's someone else's turn now, okay? I know Charlie did not want to come up. Every time a shark would come by, Charlie would be the first guy to go, oh, there's a shark right over there. He just did a fantastic job. I am so proud of him. I think he's just had an experience that he's never, ever going to forget.
I don't think any of them have had any trepidation at all. It's been fantastic. They've been in the cages, they've seen the sharks, they've tried to help out on the boat, they want to throw the bait, they want to do everything. I mean, that's, you know, if they go and tell 10 kids and 10 more kids, it can't be any better than that.
I saw 4.
Were you getting cold at all?
Nope.
Not at all?
Nope.
I was freezing. I wanted to come out. She didn't want to come out. I gotta go to the bathroom. And she won't come out. And I kept saying up. She's like, no. Up? No.
Muy bien, mija. Pues vámonos para afuera.
We brought some kids out here. We're just wrapping the trip, and it succeeded beyond my wildest expectation. Every kid, every one of them, got in the cages, ended up spending hours and hours in the cages. We had to drag these shivering little 5- and 6-year-olds out of the water after an hour or two because they didn't want to come up. They just loved watching the sharks going by. And I can't wait to find out what happens when they get home and they start telling their friends.
Dr. Mauricio Hoyos is fascinated with great whites. There's no permanent research facilities on the island, so he teams up with tour boats as a ship's naturalist. He's particularly excited to be working on this inaugural children's trip.
When I was a kid, I remember that we went to the United States and my father gave me $20 and he told me, okay, this is all the money that I'm going to give you. You have to buy a lot of toys or whatever you want. And there was this small shark and it was $20. I bought it because I really wanted it. And my father was really upset because he told me, hey, that's all your money. You have to, you can buy a lot of different toys. No, I want that toy and I still have it. Because since I was a little kid, I loved sharks. When I saw the first shark, it was like the dream of my life came true. It was amazing. It was a huge female, maybe 4 meters long. And since then, I have been working here on this island every autumn.
To gain a better understanding of the sharks' local movements and their long-distance migrations, Mauricio utilizes high-tech tools such as satellite tags and acoustic transmitters. These devices reveal startling data about how deep the sharks travel in search of prey. He's observed that smaller great whites at Guadalupe eat mainly tuna, rays, and other sharks, while the older and larger white sharks eat seals and sea lions. It would be extremely hazardous to acquire DNA samples or to implant transmitting devices in open water. Free swimming with great whites would be a challenge and a bit risky.
Okay, Jorge, shark, bring it. Put it right here. Okay, excellent.
Outfitted with an acoustic or satellite tag, the sharks reveal their depths, migratory movements and locations, and even water temperatures. At Guadalupe, Mauricio uses acoustic technology to track local sharks. The white sharks at Guadalupe spend more than half of the year away from the island in open water between California and Hawaii. But what they're doing way out there remains a mystery. A few great whites have been satellite tracked to a remote region in the middle of the Pacific dubbed the Great White Cafe. It's thought that thousands of the sharks congregate each year at the mysterious spot. Whether they're mating, chasing tuna, or even giving birth, no one is sure. For such a remarkably well-known creature, we actually know very little about them. But Mauricio Hoyos is determined to find out more.
Well, the shark is not here. Maybe we can go a little bit to the north.
Okay.
With the luxury of well-appointed tour boats and their state-of-the-art shark cages, Mauricio can also observe the sharks underwater. Photo ID is another tool in the young researcher's arsenal. Each shark has unique markings, scars, and patterns. With a bit of luck, Hoyos will have many more seasons at Guadalupe to answer some of the questions surrounding these intriguing animals. Guadalupe is a protected biosphere of Mexico, but with minimal funding or monitoring of the waters surrounding the island, the sharks are under constant threat from poachers. A set of mature white shark fins can fetch upwards of $25,000, and an intact jaw is an extremely valuable prize. It's an uphill battle convincing impoverished fishermen or foreign fishing fleets that white sharks here are more valuable alive than dead.
I love these animals, I really do. These white sharks are amazing. In the last 3 days, I've had my 5-year-old son and my 7-year-old daughter in the water with them, and it was just a thrill. And I can only hope that the sharks are still going to be here for them and for their kids and their kids' kids. Nothing could have given me a greater thrill than to have spent an hour and a half in the water with Charlie this morning, having him point out the white sharks to me. I'm very, very fearful that we're seeing the end of these and that even 5 years from now or 10 years from now, there won't be any sharks left.
If you don't relish an open ocean encounter with a big shark, you can now scuba dive or snorkel with them in Atlanta's Georgia Aquarium. One of the best places to snorkel or scuba dive with sharks is, surprisingly, the Georgia Aquarium. It's the #1 tourist attraction in Atlanta, and their 8 million gallon pool is now open. Divers and snorkelers can experience a fisheye view of their immense Ocean Voyager exhibit, home to some very interesting sharks.
The purpose of aquariums across the country, around the world, really is to inspire people to connect with nature. We want to take it to the next level. When you come to the Georgia Aquarium, you're guaranteed to see whale sharks and hammerheads and zebra sharks. It's one thing to look through a window through glass to the animals. It's another thing to be able to get in the water, to be in their environment, to understand what it's like to be an animal in the ocean. If we can get people in there, they become conservationists. They care more.
In the summer of 2008, the Georgia Aquarium opened its main exhibit to scuba divers and snorkelers. The first groups to sign up provided a behind-the-scenes look at their experience.
Well, the first order of business is we're going to vote somebody off this island, okay? And I have immunity, so you guys have to look at each other and decide who you're going to vote off.
A thorough briefing covers safety issues for both the divers and the animals. Species identification, site orientation, and a short video are all part of the experience.
The tunnel and all the windows are made of acrylic material. Are you ready to go diving? Yes, sir! All right.
State-of-the-art scuba gear is prepared for the divers, but there's still one more briefing.
I'm going to run through a few things real quick just to give you
you a general idea of what's going on in our exhibit today, also to give you a few guidelines for your safety and for the safety of our animals.
It is a rare treat indeed to scuba dive in an aquarium. Only a handful of facilities around the world allow the general public such intimate access to their exhibits.
Just pretty excited about it. I just hope they fed the sharks.
Many of the participants in the first few days of the program were celebrating birthdays or were signed up by friends or relatives as a gift. Others viewed it simply as a once-in-a-lifetime experience not to be missed.
Okay.
I love you. That's great. Yes. Good birthday present.
You know, it's disconcerting to see your daughter at the bottom of a really large tank of water with a lot of fish. That looked kind of scary.
Although there are many unusual sharks in the Ocean Voyager exhibit, none are as immense or impressive as the whale shark. And there's not just one, there's 4, each the size of a small bus.
It was unbelievable. You know, you dive in the ocean and you have all this beautiful wildlife around you, but it's dispersed. It's kind of a condensed version of all the dives I think I've done before.
It's just an incredible experience to have that much wildlife all confined around you at one time. It's just exhilarating as heck.
That was unbelievable. It was not like anything I've ever done before. I've done a lot of diving, but this is the bomb here.
Scuba divers aren't the only people allowed to swim in the Ocean Voyager exhibit. Each day, a group of snorkelers goes through much of the same routine. But instead of descending to the bottom of the tank, they stay at the surface.
Check that off the bucket list. Swam with dolphins, now with whale sharks. That's good. Perfect. Gotta squeeze them in. I'm 69 already.
In an aquarium, they're all well fed. There's no threat, there's no worry. They look at you, they ignore you. It's a great feeling, especially for a cameraman who doesn't have to worry about getting nipped in the open ocean. This is a great place. This is where I'm doing all my filming from now on.
Even though most shark dives are relatively safe, 2 prominent shark advocates think we may be taking things a bit too far. And they both survived brutal shark attacks. Dr. Eric Ritter has helped to dramatically change the popular perception of sharks from bloodthirsty killers to vital animals that need our protection. A leading authority on shark behavior, Ritter has spent thousands of hours in the water with sharks. He also devotes much of his time to forensic investigation of attacks, or as he prefers to call them, shark accidents. And Eric has intimate knowledge of the subject. After thousands of interactions with dangerous sharks, his luck finally ran out. In 2002, while filming a television special, he nearly died after a large bull shark bit his leg. Although he certainly pushed his luck many times, Ritter has serious reservations about how far some shark divers are now willing to go for a thrill.
When we go back to the early days of shark diving, you know, we were feeding the reef sharks and everybody was pretty much happy. But in the last few years, these adrenaline junkies, they want more, bigger and faster. And you know, now everybody seems to want to dive with tiger sharks, white sharks, big bull sharks, but it's not a safe scenario. In my opinion, it has gone way too far. It's not a question about if it ever happens, it's a question of when does it happen. And who will be blamed? The sharks.
Back home in Florida, one of Eric's new endeavors is the Shark Accident Victims Network. There's a growing need for psychological counseling of bite victims. And today, Ritter's traveling to neighboring Alabama to meet a potential mentor and fellow shark attack victim, Chuck Anderson.
Hey, Chuck. Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? Nice to meet you, finally.
Same here, finally, huh?
Doing okay?
Yeah, how about yourself?
Doing well.
A champion triathlete, Chuck Anderson was swim training for a national competition when a brutal encounter with a bull shark forever changed his life.
It was 6:38 a.m. in the morning, and I took about 2 more strokes in the water, and about that time, boom, it hit me from the bottom. And I started looking around, treading water, and I put my face down in the water, and when I did, it was coming up from the bottom at me. And I just instinctively threw my hands out to push off of him, and when I did, he took all 4 fingers off my right hand, and all that was left was my thumb. Just like a surgeon scalpel, it just cut them off clean. There was no pain at that stage of the game, so the fin actually was coming through the water at me. But as soon as he got past me, he was attached to my arm, and he immediately took me to the bottom. It was about 15 feet of water, and he went into that feeding frenzy where he was just gnashing from side to side, and dragging me across the bottom and, on the sand. All of a sudden, my feet started dragging the sand, and I wiggled out from underneath him, and when I did, I pulled real hard, and my arm just stripped off in his mouth, and I fell backwards into about thigh-high water and ran immediately to the beach, and knew that I was a very fortunate man when I got there. I had a big smile on my face, and the lady asked me what I was laughing at, and I said, Karen, I ought to be dead. I'm lucky.
A handful of high-profile shark attacks in 2008 created the usual media frenzy. But the death of the first tourist who actually paid for the privilege of scuba diving with sharks created a firestorm of controversy. Have we finally taken things too far?
To go to the extreme of trying to challenge the sharks, trying to bait the sharks to come around people and to pay money to do this, it's just not natural. I mean, if you're not educated in exactly what you're doing and you're a novice at it, then you're taking a risk. I'm not in favor of it. Each to his own. If somebody wants to get into it, then be aware of what the consequences could be, because I promise you, when a shark gets a hold of you, it's not a good experience.
This was the first fatality in our sport, and it's just something, you know, all of us hope never happens again. I think it made all of us more aware of what could happen. Accidents will change any industry. It makes, you know, us as shark operators more careful with our clients, with our friends, with the people we take in the water. I don't think shark diving has been taken too far. In fact, I don't even think we've scratched the surface yet. There's still a lot of things left to do in the water with these animals, still a lot of things left to learn, to see. I'm just tickled and excited to be part of that and to be part of helping to push the sport to the next level.
If personal experience leads to empathy and better understanding, there's no question that diving with sharks is a good thing. And even with more scuba divers encountering more sharks, the frequency of attacks has not increased. Whether shark divers are crazy adrenaline junkies, enlightened conservationists, or both, there's no denying their passion for these threatened animals. Many people still share the notion that the only good shark is a dead one. The problem today is that there are far too many dead sharks, and the remaining population is struggling to survive. And if sharks are to survive, we must all become advocates on their behalf.